So we're going to think a little bit about particularly our gospel reading this morning and also about love in action under the sermon title, Look What Love Will Do. So now may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable unto you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Last night was the annual Music Inside Out fundraiser, where we were treated to an amazing evening of music about great heartthrobs and bombshells of the movies. So I guess show tunes were kind of on my mind this week. Among the classic Broadway shows of all time that was also made into a movie is the musical My Fair Lady, which tells the story of Eliza Doolittle, a Cockney flower girl who takes speech lessons from one Professor Henry Higgins. And it is Higgins' goal to teach Eliza to speak so that she might pass as a well-bred lady. Well, the young man who takes a fancy to Eliza in the play is Freddie Eynsford Hill. And he waits for Eliza as he sings of his enchantment standing on the street where she lives. In the second act, after Eliza has been infuriated by Professor Higgins, she prepares to leave only to find Freddie still standing on her street waiting. He starts to profess his love to her, but Eliza is not interested in hearing about it. So she sings, "Words, words, words, I'm so sick of words. Don't talk of love, burning above. If you're in love, show me. Tell me no dreams filled with desire. If you're on fire, show me." Eliza is done with talk. She wants action. Today we are in the second week of our 4-week tour of the Sermon on the Mount. Last week we read the familiar and beautiful Beatitudes as Jesus began this great sermon found in Matthew 5-7 with the words, "Blessed, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the merciful, and blessed are the peacemakers." And I shared with you my contention that these Beatitudes did not prescribe specific instructions per se, so much as an attitude or an approach to life. Well, this morning, we are moving from the ethereal down to the concrete. Along with being something, we are also called to be doing something. Or perhaps more accurately, if we are going to be, as the Beatitudes described, we are compelled to do. After all, how can one be merciful without showing mercy? Or how can one be a peacemaker without working for peace? Salt and light. These are what Jesus calls us to be. He gives us the impression that we're supposed to be both of them, that we don't choose one or the other. And then after he talks about these two images, Jesus launches into a whole bunch of admonitions about keeping God's commandments. Isaiah has some pretty strong words as well. So being implies doing. What's this all about? Well, let's think about salt for a moment. Salt, when you apply it onto a food, enhances it. Perhaps it preserves a food that would otherwise go bad, or maybe it adds flavor or zest to a food that would otherwise be kind of lackluster. Salt is not intended to draw attention to itself. We all know how nasty some foods that are too salty can taste. Rather, just the right amount of salt is added into the mix to make things better. Light, on the other hand, draws us. Light is a beacon. Light shines. It invades the darkness and not vice versa, and it spreads out from its source. Light illumines our path and can point us in the right way. You and I, you see, we're here on earth for a reason. We're not just here to take up airspace. We are called to show our love for the Lord by being salt and light. When we see something that we know could be a little better, like salt, or to get in there and enhance it, improve it, so that God's loving purposes might be realized. Further, when there's an opportunity to reflect the light of Christ through our thoughts and actions, we're to shine so that the whole world can see. Jesus calls us to draw others into the sphere of light that we radiate through the good works that we do, not so that people can remark what amazing people we are, but so that people can remark what an amazing God it is that we worship, so that God might be glorified. We let the love of God show. Showing God's love. That's what today is all about. For love is not an abstract concept. We can talk about love until we're blue in the face, but someone's not really going to know what love is until he or she experiences it. See, love is a contact sport and a reflection of God. Because we love because God first loved us. And Jesus calls us in the Gospel of John to love one another as God has loved us. There's a group at Christ the King that has been salt and light for 25 years, enhancing the lives of countless foster children and their families and shining the light of Christ at every turn. A group that has shown love and through that has experienced love. So today, we take time to give thanks to God for the ministry of love in action, to look at what love can do. Trudy Petkovich is one of the founding members of Love in Action, and she's going to guide us down a path of memory lane and see how the light of Christ has shined like a beacon on the hill, drawing us all to know and share the love of Christ. So you see, Eliza Doolittle, she had it just right. If you're on fire, show me. Well, Love and Action has been on fire, showing the love of Christ for a quarter century, letting the light of Christ shine, and God has been glorified. So now, Trudy,